welcome back to Your Voice. For this episode, I want to speak about a question that I kind of do want to answer a lot because I think it's very interesting, and obviously, some people may choose one, some people may choose other, but this question will work somewhat in the same way as nature versus nurture, as they'll both very much play a part in a role in someone's life, but you may believe that one has more impact than the other. And the question today would be, what do you think changes a person more, pain or love? Right. And I really enjoy this question because I may have an answer that I really believe, and someone can have an answer that they strongly believe as well. And both are right essentially. Like I said, like each has a very impactful change on a person, but you may believe one, like really takes the cake on this one. I'm not sure. But before I make a decision on whether I believe it's pain or whether I believe it's love, I'm gonna break down what I believe each one can really like change in person. Like, do I think this one is a lot more, like life altering? Like, this is no longer the same person as before, or is it just like tiny life aspects that it may change, or how much pain you may have to endure for it to feel like a huge change in your life, or just whatever the case may be. It really all depends on the person, of course, and all depends on maybe where the person's starting off at to like really put in perspective like what can change this person the most. But let's just say the average person, average, average regular Bob that you might just come across. I'm not sure, but just regular guy, right? Not too much going on. Pretty content where he's at in his life, that kind of thing. And he's experienced a little pain, but a lot of love in his life, a lot of good friends, a lot of good family. Maybe on a more relationship aspect, maybe he got a few heartbreaks, maybe he got denied. Maybe he got denied a few jobs before, or he never know how to get his way. He has pretty bad luck, that kind of thing. But other than that, he's pretty content with how things are going. He feels he's in a good spot, pretty decent spot for how his life's been going out. And one of these things can either change it very drastically, but it's just a matter of which. Right. So let's say Bob beats his girl. Right. He meets his girl and they seem to be kicking off really well. And he's starting to like think that like things is really looking up for his life. He's no longer just feeling flat out content, but now he's feeling really happy. Right. Now that's where the love kind of settles in. Right. You can definitely say that's some love aspect, is his life is changing because he feels the love, right? And he feels really good about it. And he's starting to be more confident in his approaches, and maybe he's starting to land the jobs that he wants because he feels really passionate about it. And like I say, he feels more of a stronger approach towards them. So now it shows a real boost in character. That's a very good positive change that the love is playing, because now it's like, instead of regular content, average Bob that we were getting before, now we have one that's really more in tune with himself, and he's doing things that he wasn't doing, at least at this well of a level, right? But let's say after like 6 months, right? After 6 months have passed, he was able to land a job, of course, that he really did like. Like I said, he felt that things were going up for him. He was getting really happy, he was really cherishing this relationship a little more than his friends and family at the time, but he was just given something that he felt was gonna be, the best thing that he's ever experienced. However, though, like I said, 6 months later, he finds out not only is he gonna have to break up with his girlfriend, but he's gonna have to break up with her because he got the news that she cheated. Unfortunately, let's say when he got home or something, he stumbled across her and another guy or something of the sort, and that torn him into pieces. In that very moment, everything that he just believed was just like, disproven in front of his eyes, right? Everything that he once believed and once thought was true all became lies, that kind of thing. So in that very moment, that same love that just lifted him from an average person to someone that, feels like they have something to fight for. Now he feels like he just lost everything. Of course he didn't lose everything. Of course he still had his friends, his family, still got a really good job that he was able to get. In that very moment, he just felt like he lost everything, because now he feels like a lot worse, of course, than where he was at before, despite the things that he currently has. And he feels he kind of has to restart. Right. And after getting this awful news, he's not even sure what to do with his girlfriend. which he will soon have to break up with her for, hopefully, if he's smart, because some people don't. As we know, some people won't, and they'll stick with the person. But you can't blame them, especially when, like I said, at one point this person was very, important to you. It's hard to just like turn that switch off, and now it's just a stranger again. And not only is it just a stranger, but it's a stranger that hurt you, right? So in that very moment, he can't function, right? And he knows that the relationship will be over, even though she's still trying to like tell him all these lies, like, oh, it wasn't like that, or it never happened again, that kind of thing, right? He's not going for it, and then the fact that she's even in his ear about it is kind of even making him a lot more hurt about the situation. And like I said, let's say 24 hours pass. 24 hours pass, he's still dealing with the pain. Right? He probably told one of his best friends, let's say his best friend is James. He told his best friend James about it. He called up from work for the next day because he couldn't feel like he'd be in a common environment. However, his job's a little more strict in terms of, off days. So that one day was like really his one day. Like he'd have to, really pick up the pace, then be back in action the following. Right. And let's just say at this very moment, the pain was not doing this thing. Because as we know, sometimes pain sometimes it could be good. Right? Sometimes it can really put you in that like that mind state that you need. However, he didn't need this currently. So that pain that he just endured actually just made it worse. Right? He started to isolate himself, started to cut off a lot of other people, so on and so forth. And, he was even, performing less and less as well. He was as good pretty much at his job, and that he didn't lose it quite yet, but he's getting there, right? Because if he doesn't pick up the pace, eventually they're gonna let him go. So for his circumstance, for his life, love was more of a beneficial factor to him than fear, or not fear but pain, right? That pain that started to settle in wasn't what he needed. Definitely wasn't what he needed. Right. Now, that's just one instance. That's definitely just one instance, and maybe down the road that pain was able to shape him into something more greater. And I don't doubt that. Right. Let's just say for his scenario, fast forward 3 months after the breakup. Right. 3 months after the breakup, he's finally over it. He doesn't care about the person anymore. He's starting to move on. He's back at his normal content life. Right. Still with the same good job though. And he's not performing at his best, but he's still performing well enough to where he's just in a good position, right? Not getting too much attention from his supervisor, not bad nor good, right? And let's just say like that pain that he did experience from the breakup now refined him a little bit to not make the same mistakes if he were to get into the next relationship, right? But as well as that pain, overall, it's allowed him to keep himself, right? Because like I said, a lot of people feel like they lose themselves when they lose someone else. But he realized that down the line, he never need the person. He realized that, yes, as good as the person made him, and as good as the person made him want to do better for himself, he realized that he didn't need it. He didn't need the person to uplift him. He didn't need whatever he thought they were providing for him, because he realized that the whole time he was providing it for himself. But instead of only caring about himself, he was able to care about someone else, and that made him feel good. And in that moment, he realized that it wasn't really about the person and about what they could do for him, but what he could do for the people. And that later on motivated him to want to not only provide for the people, but realize that if no one else can provide for him, that he will soon eventually have to. And that's just what he did. He was able to provide for himself. He was able to learn from the pain, and he was able to change. Now, in that kind of scenario, it's kind of more equivalent, right? Yes, the love of the initial like kickoff, right, to his life on an uprise, but the pain was enough to keep it in place, right, and to install that change. Right, and ensure that it wasn't going to go anywhere, because he already felt the pain from it, meaning it was going to be a kind of temporary thing. Because I feel like that's where it kind of, when you only get the benefits that you need from the love aspect, it's not always going to stick, And I'm not saying it's not always gonna stick because maybe the person may leave or because it's gonna run out, but it's always a possibility. So let's say, in this new scenario with Bob, right? His main beneficial factor that he was receiving from love was his mom, right? His mom always provided him everything he needed. She always made sure he was feeling okay, and that was his safe place, right? He never had the most friends. He never been in a relationship, right? But his mom made sure that she could provide everything that she possibly could for him, and that was enough for him, right? She taught him a lot of things. She taught him how to be a respectful person, so on and so forth. And with that, he was okay. He never needed anything else, right? That love allowed him to be the young man that she wanted him to be, so on and so forth, right? But let's say, unfortunately, his mom gets into a fatal car accident, and all that is essentially gone, right? His whole world, his whole safe place, his whole everything is now taken from him. And like I said before, he doesn't have friends. He never been into a relationship, and the main person that was there that provided everything is no longer with him. That can completely tarnish a person, potentially, right? Or that could, you know, hopefully, really hopefully, do what he may need for, like, it might just do what he needs the most, right? And like I said, learning how to adapt, learning how to be there for himself. But it all depends. Like I said, these kind of things always depend on the person. Strictly with pain, as the analogy I like to use is like the same water that can make a potato soft is the same water that can make an egg hard, right? So it's the same situation, it's the same environment, but it will never have the same effects on the same people, right? Either some people may get where you at in a different circumstance, or someone may go through the same exact thing that you went through and get a completely different outcome. So depending on the person, that kind of event could tear them apart and may lead them making some very bad, drastic decisions down the road, or can do the opposite. And let's just say for this situation, it's able to do the opposite. And yes, as much as he suffered and he struggled for the past 2 years, feeling that kind of hurt, feeling that kind of pain, knowing the things that his mom had taught him, he was able to overcome that, and he was able to keep the teaching that she showed him, right? And was able to make friends, get a healthy relationship, a really good one, off of his first relationship, which is nice. He didn't have to go through trial and error. So things start to look up a lot more positively, and they stayed like that, right? Luckily for him, you know, he only had to struggle and endure that one traumatic experience for him, but everything else start to look up in the not near future, but later down the road, things were good for him. Now, like I said, I think pain. Personally, I do believe pain does have like a very strong hold on a person when it comes to change, as like sometimes it's necessary to feel a certain degree of pain, and yes, the pain is gonna be always drastic, as it does tend to feel life altering, no matter where it originates from. Whether you lost a sport, yes, you lost a loved one, or whatever the case may be, it will always be a drastic form, right? But I feel like the main problem with it is it takes a long time to really benefit from it, right? Meaning, like, yes, you did finally able to benefit from the pain. But like I said, for Bob, in the second scenario, it took him 2 years. Obviously, that's just a scenario. For some people, it could be quicker. They may benefit from it in a week. Who knows? But it's very unlikely, right? Unless you've been through enough pain, you're not used to being able to turn it around and make something good out of it so soon. And for that's why I'm like, yes, it's good. 'Cause like I said, what I said for both scenarios is that pain is able to, like, keep it in place. That all the changes and effects that it makes is able to keep it there and hold it there. Like I said, love tends to be temporary, so it's kind of opposite. So like the effects of it can be more immediate. However, they may not be permanent, right? Meaning that if he were to get into a loving relationship, same time that he still had his mom with him, he would have benefited from the effects of the love that he would receive. But let's say if he lost that relationship, the benefits aren't going to be there in that meantime, and he will then have to probably, get benefits from the pain of the relationship ending, if that makes sense. So all in all, I feel like like I said, it definitely depends on the person, and it depends on the amount and who or what you receive the pain or love from. Essentially, if you receive the pain from a heavy traumatic loss, right, or you receive the love from a very significant person, it depends. But I do believe, for the person's sake, that love can change them more for the better, anyways. Meaning, like, you don't have to suffer. You don't have to suffer. Yeah, pretty much. You don't have to suffer to get the benefits from it. You just get the benefits, right? And you can then love tends to grow. So the same way you can receive love from this person, you get it for the next. And yeah, you might even be overstimulated by it at some point, but even then, it's still good nonetheless, because it's love at the end of the day. For pain, it's like it does hit hard, especially if it's the first time around. But I feel like for pain, it caps out at some point, because one person will only endure so much, right? And pain can truthfully only teach them so much. And pain is more like I said, it's more of a self-implemented teaching, because pain isn't just gonna throw a lesson at you. No, you have to make it into a lesson. You have to kind of learn from it. And like I said, not everyone knows how to do that. Yes, it can be very life changing. Like, of course, 1 second you have a person, 1 second you don't at all. However, considering the fact that you have to solve the issue, you have to make a lesson of it. You have to feel the pain and suffering from it, like the hurt. Depending on what it is, you might lose more than what you gain. So yeah, you might lose a loved one, and you might not gain anything from it. You feel like you might not have learned anything from that traumatic experience. Therefore, it may not change you in the right ways. It could definitely still change you. And for that, if anything, I should probably have to reword the question, whether it's changing you for the better or for the worse. But I feel like even then, that's kind of more obvious. That's definitely a more obvious question. Love is gonna change you more for the better. Pain, not too much. But if we're just speaking about change, just like in its base regular form, then yeah, probably the pain. Probably the pain, because like I said, 1 second someone could be completely there for you, 1 second it's not, and that's very life altering, right? However, yes, love for the better is gonna change you a lot, more beneficial for you, but it may not do it just as much as the pain will, because pain is a hard thing to endure. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments or something, because that's just my take on it. Or if you have any better scenarios to make someone else see it the way you see it. Those are just two very average scenarios to kind of like, at least for me anyways, to kind of get an idea of like how pain or love may just change them in their life. But like I said, it also varies on the person. It depends on where they start off at. Like if Bob were to start off at a very hard point in his life, like he started off in poverty, he didn't know his parents, he was adopted, he didn't have any siblings, like he just had a very uprise, right? Or maybe the opposite, maybe he was provided with everything, he had lots of loved ones. It very much depends, because in the first scenario, love could change his life a lot more, considering he already felt enough pain. And in the second one, pain could change his life a lot more, considering he's been around love for so much that the slightest thing being taken away from him could feel drastic. But like I said, that'll be all for this video. I appreciate each and every one of you for listening. I'll see you guys in the next one.